Welcome to Sports Geek, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals. And now, here's your host, who can't wait to see how many more sports tech gadgets he can fit in his carry-on, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, TJ Joel. My name is Sean Callanan, and welcome to episode 363 of Sports Geek. In this CEO series episode, I catch up with Rob Ponger. He's the CEO of Perfect Game USA. I hope you're really going to enjoy it. I know I enjoyed chatting with Rob across a whole raft of things in the media technology space with his long history in that space. But before we get into it, I just want to say thank you to the people who've left a review for the podcast. I was just recently checking Apple Podcasts, which is pretty much the only place you can leave a review. We've got over 150 reviews, but more importantly and more humbling for me is in 10 countries. So thank you very much. If you go to your Apple Podcasts and look at where they are, you will only see the podcast reviews in your country. So I've got a lot in Australia, I've got a lot in the US, but then there's this sprinkling. There's a few in Canada, there's a few in different parts of Europe. So if you have left a review, thank you very much. If you're going to be the first, but at least please let me know if you're the first person to leave a review in your country. I really appreciate that. Before we get into my chat with Rob, I just want to ask if now is a good time for you guys to have a digital review or a digital audit of your socials, of your digital, what you're trying to do, does it align with your strategy? That's what we've been doing for now, 15 years here at Sports Geek. If I can help you, please reach out. I love working with podcast listeners. Sean at sportsgeekhq.com is how you can find me. As I say, best time for review is now because you can make those tweaks and have some successes, even if it is during the season. Now, please enjoy my chat with Rob Ponger, CEO of Perfect Game USA. Very happy to welcome Rob Ponger, the CEO of Perfect Game USA. Rob, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot, Sean. Thanks for having me on Sports Geek. Looking forward to our conversation.
Terrific. Well, I normally always start my podcast conversations with trying to get an understanding of how people got their start in sports, because everyone has a different entry point to get to where they are. How did you get your start in the world of sports business?
Yeah, so, I graduated college and I actually had an accounting degree and eventually passed my CPA exam, but started working for a company called IMG, sports marketing and management company, the largest company in the world. And everyone knew it for representing the Tiger Woodses of the world and Maria Sharapovas and Joe Montana in football. I worked in the media group and we represented Wimbledon, the Australian Open tennis, which is going on right now. Actually, I can, over my life there and career, I could say I've been to Australia and New Zealand for America's Cup. I've been to Wimbledon in England, been to India for cricket. So I've made it around the world because IMG represented all the top sporting properties across the globe and was fortunate enough to get a start there at a very young age. Basically right out of school and
so from a finance background and sort of looking at the ones and zeros of the balance sheet and being a finance guy, was it when you were coming out of college and looking at a career like at IMG, was sports something you said I want to be a part of? Because accounting, you can be applying in multiple different areas. Was it something that you had a passion for? You said, I want to work in sports.
Well, I always loved sports, and I think I kind of lucked my way into it. I really saw an advertisement for a job in the paper for basically an entry-level accountant, threw my name into the hat. Next thing you know, I'm working at IMG, and I'm off and running on my career, and was fortunate enough worked for Mark McCormick, who started the whole thing years ago with Arnold Palmer, in the 60s, and got right into the media division and worked for media legends like, Barry Frank, who's in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, Sean McManus, who I think is still the chairman of CBS Sports and CBS, and a whole bunch of other, I call them uncles and fathers, who all took me under their wing over the years and were great mentors to me. And I went from that accounting degree to more of a, eventually became the CFO of IMG Media and was head of strategic planning at IMG and mergers and acquisitions, and just had a great 21-year career there where, if you did the 6 degrees of separation, I think everybody at some point working in sports has some connection to IMG over the years.
And it must have been like an amazing time, because really that sports media landscape really went from, the dial being, getting up off your couch to change the dial on your TV to streaming, the streamers coming in, the different ways rights are being cut up. It must have been fascinating to be part of those and seeing those deals develop, completely new channels develop, and being part of that from a financial deal, media rights that kept growing year on year.
Oh, it was fascinating. If you look, I basically started my career in 1993. And, back then it was the major networks. And then all of a sudden, people like, what's ESPN, right? Now ESPN's a household name. And then all of a sudden you're dealing with broadcast rights. Now you're dealing with cable rights. And over time you were dealing with digital rights and then mobile rights, right? And now we have streaming, we have betting. It's unbelievable. And I feel like I was in the middle of the evolution of media, basically. And like I said, I had great teachers. And I like to say that I kind of helped a little bit along the way, guide a couple of things here and there myself, if I'm going to be a little modest on that, right? But Great experience, great learning, and it keeps evolving, right? We're in a different age today, ultimately. The kids today, 13, 14, 15, they don't even watch TV anymore. Their phones are their computer. It's their source of communication to the world. And a perfect game, we're diving right into that ecosystem of where media is going and really helping to drive the future of it.
Yeah, we'll get into the role now, Perfect Game, but yeah, I had a similar conversation with Alfonso at Tennis Australia, who works in that media rights space for Tennis Australia, but like looking over broadcast contracts and how they're broken down and the financials of them, you really do get to understand the fundamentals of what is driving the sports industry overall, don't you?
Oh, I mean, absolutely, right? It's like people, it's certainly about the athletes. It's certainly about the organizations. It's about the fans as well. People never should ever forget the fans, but media rights, social media rights is the biggest source of money basically for every major sport that goes on in the world, ultimately. And, whether it's the NFL, whether it's the Lawn Tennis Association in Australia, media rights or some form of it, of what it's become, is certainly the driving force behind all the money that's going into sports.
So now you are the CEO of Perfect Game USA. For those who don't know what Perfect Game USA does, tell us a little bit more about what Perfect Game USA does.
Sure. So Perfect Game is I describe it as the leading youth baseball platform in the world, ultimately. So in the United States primarily, and I can get into how we're expanding internationally, but so we run tournaments, we run showcases, we basically scout all the players. So the kids that are playing in our tournaments are from 9 years old up to 18 years old when they get into either college or they get drafted into Major League Baseball, ultimately. So every player that plays in a Perfect Game tournament gets a profile. And those numbers, I'd say over the last 5 years, we probably had 1.5 billion views of those profiles, not millions, billions of views. So these teams that play travel ball baseball in America, and if you're familiar with American baseball, there's teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers. And here in travel ball, there's teams like Five Star. There's organizations like the Canes. There's organizations like PRD Ghost. These teams are the Yankees, Red Sox, and Dodgers of travel ball baseball. And we scout these kids and we give them a platform to show off their skills. We give the organizations that train these players all year round. We host the top events in the world for the kids. We put them on TV. We have something called PG.TV. Our PG.TV, I think in 2023 was approaching 30 million viewers during the year. 340 million page views on perfectgame.org. So these kids know these are the superstars of tomorrow. These are the social media influencers of tomorrow, the content creators of tomorrow. The Perfect Game provides that platform basically for youth baseball to thrive in the United States. And we work with all the organizations. Obviously Major League Baseball is a big force behind everything going on. And, we're proud to be part of the ecosystem.
And was that something that, you spent a long time, 21 years at IMG, in that media space? Was that media, and you would have seen a lot of businesses build out their media empires around their sport. We've seen Major League Baseball with BAM and all the different sports build it out. Was that something that attracted you to Perfect Game to see this engaged audience, the tech plays and the content that they're developing? Because it was very similar to some of the things you'd worked on and seen over your time at IMG.
Yeah, it's funny when we came into Perfect Game, what Perfect Game was to me, it was a fantastic event company. It was a fantastic scouting company. So nobody scouts the youth players better. Fantastic at running events, but I think we were only running events in 6 states, and we had maybe 200,000 kids playing in our tournaments. We just finished 2023, and we're fast approaching 2 million kids playing in our tournaments. And those numbers are only going to grow. We're in 42 states now. We're in Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Barcelona, the Czech Republic. We're doing business, with Baseball Australia and Australia as well, Canada. So we've become a global brand. So when we took it over, I saw a great event company, but what I saw was a brand. PG is a brand. So like these shirts now, we're now in 250 Dick's Sporting Goods stores, which is the biggest sports retailer in the United States. We didn't have PerfectGame.tv. We actually launched it during COVID. So some people would think me and my partner, Rick Thurman, so Rick's my partner in Perfect Game, and he was owned Beverly Hills Sports Council for years, one of the top baseball agents in the game. And we launched PG.tv during COVID. Nobody was playing. We're like, oh, let's launch the media channel right now. So again, we saw the brand, the attention that we give the kids and the organizations. We make the parents happy. They see their kids on TV. They see their kids on our social media platform that has close to 3 million followers right now. Our Instagram following would rank in, the top 30 clubs in Major League Baseball with the amount of viewers that we have. So that brand is powerful, and the PG brand is evolving into, here we were an event company, now we're a media company, now we're an apparel company in 250 Dick's Sporting Goods stores, and now we're a product company. We have drinks like, we help promote like these drinks like Launch Hydrate. Hey, maybe that's the next Gatorade. We're doing our own baseballs now, right? We got our hats, we have shirts like this. Who knows what's next in the horizon, right? So, any product in baseball has the potential to be a PG product one day. So the company is continuing to evolve.
And so that evolution and that growth and expansion piece, was that something like you sort of saw that from a vision point of view to say, PG are, killing it in the scouting game, running terrific events, like you said, a terrific event company, and you just saw that it needed a few of those levers pulled to go, here's what scale looks like, here's what more events looks like, here's what a media channel and a media division looks like. How has it been transforming the company to go, hey, we run events, we do it really well, but now we've also got these other verticals?
Yeah, no, and I do think it's the natural evolution of Perfect Game, right? We could have just sat there and been a great event company, great scouting company, and we're still both of those. Second, there's no, we're in first place, right? Our competitors are certainly a distant second, if I even, want to consider them there ultimately, right? But the evolution of it's great to see our media content on Roku, on Tubi, on Amazon Freecast. It's unbelievable, the growth there, right? To walk into the top sporting goods store in America and see Perfect Game apparel right next to Nike and Adidas and Under Armour shows you the power of the brand. The kids wear this brand. It's a badge of honor for them. They wear it to school. They wear the hoodie to school, right? So again, why not keep going, right? So it's really exciting to see what's next. And we haven't even touched on, we now own facilities, baseball facilities around the world. The international expansion is coming. Now that we're so big in terms of media and events, it's not just we have fantastic sponsors like Rawlings. They've been with us for years, but now I'm like knocking on where's Gillette? Where's the banks? Where's the insurance companies at this point? I got kids playing ball. They're going to drive cars. They need insurance. They need to shave, right? So all these fast channels that we're on, we have a platform to get to the Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen Alpha. We're sitting here on it. It's just a matter of everybody else seeing what we've become, right? Sometimes I like to say we're the smallest, biggest company. that more people need to know about.
It is very much the case of everyone talks about the sports pyramid of, the very large and wide base of all the kids playing the sport. And then the very tip of the pyramid is the pros. And that does, we're back to that conversation about media rights. That's where it gets a lot of attention. But that wide part of the base, so many kids playing baseball, does give you those options for commerciality and partnerships and the like. And, when we look at that, the pro sports, they are chasing that next generation of fans. And how do we engage that younger fans? When 60% of your audience is under 24, how influential is and exciting is having that kind of audience that is not only engaged with your content, but also their participants and they're growing as their baseball journey grows.
Oh, it's really exciting. And that to me is the audience that everybody wants to tap into, right? These kids are growing up and content creation is second nature to them. Having a phone, filming themselves is second nature to them. These kids are influencers in their own community and in their own region and on a national basis. We have kids playing. I'll look at their Instagram accounts and there's kids, 20, 30, 40,000 people. And, they're 14 years old, 15 years old. These kids are the superstars of tomorrow. And if they're not superstars in baseball, they might be superstars in running a media company one day. They might be making movies, right? I mean, everybody has a YouTube channel today and kids are watching that. So again, I feel like we're embedded into the way that 24 and under crowd are absorbing media, absorbing content and creating it. And Perfect Game provides an amazing platform for sports fans overall and just influencers. 16-year-old kids want to know not just what bat this kid's swinging, but what's he wearing when he warms up? How does he train? What is he eating? What vitamins are he using? So it's really exciting to be part of that. And I feel like we're only scratching the surface, and this is a 27-year-old company. It's unbelievable, the trajectory of this company and where we're going.
Especially when you're seeing, I guess, the evolution of sports storytelling that has evolved, over the last 25 years to go from the main traditional channels to, the ESPN, 60 Minutes, those kind of documentaries to, the Drive to Survive. Do you think now that you're building out a platform that can tell some of those local stories, enable those kids to tell their stories and also, reach and engage that market? Because that's what they, like you said, they want to know what those kids are doing, how they're doing it, why they're developing.
Yeah, I think that's the engaging thing where our content goes in the future, right? It's one thing to be national across the U.S., but we want to be hyper local and regional, right? I call it's almost the hometown hero theory, right? Like if you're playing if there's a kid in Sydney, Australia playing ball, right? And we have kids and there are Australians, like there's a Travis Vazana or a Max Stagg. I think Travis is playing at Oregon State and Max is playing at Central Arizona, right? I'm sure there's people in Australia following them, right? They're your hometown heroes, right? So the same thing is here. If you're playing in New York, people know who the New York stars are, right? People know in Florida who the stars are. People know in California who the stars are, right? So to me, the local content, the regional content to me is we're pushing that out, right? You want to see the kid playing in Houston, Texas? Come to Perfect Game, right? We're going to put that 13-year-old kid, we're going to shine a spotlight on the organization, on the kid. And what mom and dad isn't more proud to see their kid mentioned in a Perfect Game ranking, or there's a video of his home run? We now are filming every single game, basically, that Perfect Game plays. So if you want highlights of your kid's 4 at-bats, you can get them on Diamondcast, and now Diamondcast Plus, which is PG's technology to score the game and film the game. Great. Could you imagine playing ball years ago? And I'm sure you played sports growing up. I played. Who wouldn't want to see their home runs or their goals or their, great moments in sports from 14, 15, 16 years old for the rest of their life? So Perfect Game has the ability now, not just to create that, but to store it for the rest of an athlete's life. And then when dad's 40 years old, he can go back and still look at it maybe when he has a son one day. So we're really building something. We're building an archive of memories for kids right now. And it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, and that must be like the technology infrastructure, like behind the scenes, because that's a really ambitious, goal to be able to, one, capture, be able to archive it, be able to access it. How much of that transformation of PG being a technology company to build out some of that infrastructure and technology to be able to enable that vision, how much has that changed since you've come on board at PG?
Well, there's always, I think the world's changed a lot in the last 5 years as well, right? Even the game of baseball has changed. There's so much analysis and there's so much technological advances now, from cameras being able to track the spin rate of a ball, the horizontal movement, the vertical movement. There's companies like Diamond Kinetics out there that can show the exit velocity off of the bat. I mean, so technology is amazing. And what we're doing is we're incorporating all of that into the youth game as well. These kids that are 15, 16, they want to know how hard they're hitting the ball. They want to see their spin rate. And then the teams and organizations that train with those players and the parents want to see it, right? So we are providing that information out there. There's even going to be a bigger load of information coming to all these kids coming forward. And, and we always have to keep in mind, and we balance it with, we're very careful. We have pitch counts for the kids. We're very careful about injury prevention with the kids. We've had companies help us with that. We've had companies come and test players on stuff. So we always want to monitor the kids. We don't want them to be overused. So we're very careful about that. And there's more technological advances coming in injury prevention as well. So we're at the forefront of that. When you have close to 2 million kids playing, any technology company, any video company, anything is going to want to talk to Perfect Game and say, how can we help? How can we get to these consumers?
I mean, and we're very much focused on, the media side and the consumer side and the mum and dad and the kids being able to follow. But, the core business has been scouting and analysis of playing. How much are you leveraging technology to both record, analyze, better assess players? That must be a growing space, considering, the pros are always adding new pieces to the puzzle to better assess players, whether it be, everyone's watched Moneyball, but that keeps evolving.
Yeah, no, Moneyball does keep evolving, right? I mean, there's so much analysis at one's fingertips, certainly at the major league level, at the college level. In youth, obviously, unlike the pros where there's 30 teams and 30 stadiums, on any given Saturday, I might have thousands of fields being used at once, right? So obviously, the easier technology is, the cheaper it is too to get into the hands of the parents and the coaches and the organizations. The more feedback you can give a player and a parent. So we're incorporating that into our tournaments. We're incorporating that into our showcases and our scouting. And our scouts are the best. Our scouts are filming kids at events. Our tournament organizers are making sure that camera's up at the events, right? And once you get the kid swing, then a kid, there's plenty of, I'll say, products out there to help analyze that swing. And we will incorporate more and more of that into our tournaments and our showcases, basically with the helping the kid, providing a platform to help train the kid, to show the kid where he needs to improve. And aspirationally, these kids all want to be Major League Baseball players. And fantastic, right? It's really hard to become a Major League Baseball player, right? But success is also getting this kid into college, getting him into a college scholarship, maybe getting a young kid on a high school, grant or something to play. And we're trying to open up the game too for underprivileged kids, right? It's not a cheap game, right? We're not hiding from that, but we certainly try to provide opportunities and scholarships for kids that aren't as fortunate as others to basically play the game, to introduce them to the game of baseball, right? So we'll do more and more of that in 2024 and beyond as well. And we have plenty of great partners out there that are helping us.
We've talked a lot about the media and the technology side of the business. But one of the things you have got is a lot of people that work at PG that have actually played ball, whether it be in college or in the pros, and have that really strong passion for the game. How important is that from a CEO to have that kind of passion in the staff and the coaching and the scouts that work at PG to, really have that deep passion for the game that help, fuel this success?
I mean, we have, scouts that, some played Major League Baseball, some played college baseball. Everybody is obviously a diehard baseball fan and baseball lifer. Ultimately, we have ex-pros, we have Hall of Famers like Trevor Hoffman that, he'll be walking around and showing a kid how he threw his changeup, behind, a batting cage or something. We have Tom Flash Gordon, who pitched 22 years in the majors. And this guy, he's still going out there at select festivals and throwing batting practice to the kids. And he lives and breathes baseball and he loves it. Guys like Ryan Klesko comes to our events, gets in the cage. He's 52 years old. He's hitting 400-foot bombs, right? Out. He's joining a home run derby. It's unbelievable. And these experts I can bring into a meeting with me on technology. And what better guy do I want? Do I want the Hall of Famer? Do I want the guy with 150 wins, 150 saves, the guy with 300 homers? These are all PG's think tank. And what a great group of people to have in that think tank. And our scouts, listen, they've seen millions of ball players, right? So there's nothing that surprises these guys either anymore.
And it must be really encouraging as you build out that infrastructure in the same way that you scaled out the events business, is to be able to efficiently scale out that knowledge that you've got with all of those pro players. And it's not, hey, all those scouts having to be at every single event. Now that they've got more of the content at their fingertips, they could be, helping and scouting more players, because you've now got this technology infrastructure there for them able to do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have video on all the kids. And so if you're a top college and you're not at a PG event, great. We have scout packages, right? You can see all the kids. You can see the highlights of the kid. You can get the analytics. How hard is he throwing? And in 2024, you're going to see even more analytics. You'll see the horizontal movement. You'll see the vertical movement. You'll see the spin rate. You'll see the exit velocity. So we have everything on these young kids that the colleges want, that Major League Baseball wants. And, we're just, we want to stay on the cutting edge of technology and be the leader in innovation. And that's what we strive to do here at Perfect Game.
So it's very obvious your passion for that growth, both for PG, but then also scaling out all of these different verticals. What's your vision for where PG is in 5 or 10 years' time? How will it be? How will it be different? How will it be, leveled up?
Yeah, well, I think PG will continue to be the leader in the event baseball business and the youth baseball business, without a doubt. But, I see PG evolving. It is a brand, right? It's, to me, why can't the PG logo be on every uniform in the United States? Why can't it be in Australia? Why can't it be in Japan? I'd like to see this PG logo on every kid playing for Baseball Australia on their uniforms, right? I'd like to see a PG hat on those kids, right? I want to see the Australian team on PG.TV. I want to have the biggest youth platform in the United States and the world in terms of media, right? So I look at it like the PG brand is exploding, and do we want to be Nike? Do we want to be Adidas? Do we want to be Rawlings, Marucci? I'd say we want to be all of the above at some point, right? So we have an amazing platform, and we just also want to continue opening up baseball for everybody, right? We want to inspire kids to play baseball, and we want to make the game fun for them. We want to be able to make them be able to share their highlights, to be able to share their experiences. And, people say they go to Disney, you want an experience when you go to Disney. I want kids coming to Perfect Game, and I want the parents and the kids to walk away and be like, that was a great experience. Not only that, I walk away with information about myself that I might not even know, that's going to help make me a better baseball player. And, with enough of our ex-MLB players around and current MLB players sometimes, it's like they have an ability to influence these kids. And, when we have our All-American game, we have a Major League Baseball player, ex-MLB player sitting next to all these kids. And we want the kids to pick their minds, right? What does it take, right? Everybody's got talent, right? But what does it take? What's the drive? How do you train harder? What's the mental, preparedness that you need to take it to the next level, right? Sport's tough. Everybody's competing to be better, right? You want to win. So I think we open up that all to everybody and more.
And I think as you're building out the tech and being able to archive, have this digital archive of everyone, a young ball player, whether they're in Melbourne, Australia, or Kansas City, in 10 or 15 years' time, and they're in the big leagues, you can help tell that story. Like here, this is what the swing looked like when they were 9, and now they're hitting home runs in major league ballparks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And listen, that's what we want to do for the kids in the U.S. But even I look at even our relationship, whether it's the Canadian team, but even the Baseball Australia, for instance, right? Like we talk to Glenn Williams, who's the CEO, or Mike Cooks, who's the GM, or Andrew Rydell, right, who's the National Player Development Manager. Well, we want more Australian athletes coming to the U.S. We want more baseball players coming to the U.S., right? And some of these kids I mentioned, I think Travis Bazana and Max Stagg, they're playing in U.S. colleges right now. We want teams coming over. We want the international side of things to be more competitive on a baseball. And we think Perfect Game's a platform to open that up for all the kids, right? Baseball is a beautiful game, right? And it's been obviously very U.S. focused. It's very Caribbean focused as well. Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Puerto Rico. There's a lot of great athletes coming out of those towns. But where are the athletes from Australia and England? And I mean, we got Graham Lloyd, I think, played in Australia, played in the U.S., but I'm sure, I've watched enough rugby and cricket. Yep. There's a ton of fantastic athletes that could play baseball that come out of Australia as well.
Yes, I actually should have grabbed it. I've got a Graham Lloyd signed baseball in my son's bedroom. And that's the thing. I mean, I think a lot of sports now are really focused on that player pathway, that international player pathway, identifying talent, and enabling that talent to come through. And some of that absolutely needs infrastructure and that information sharing. So really looking forward to seeing PG continue to grow. And I really appreciate you taking the time. I want to get to the Sports Geek Closing 5. And I want to ask you, Rob, do you remember the first sports event you ever attended?
I do. And I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and my birthday's in April. And I went to something called back then the Mayor's Trophy game. So it was where the New York Yankees played the New York Mets in an exhibition game, right? And I thought it was the greatest thing in the world because I was a Yankee fan and I didn't really like the Mets. And at 5 years old, I thought it was the game of the year. And meanwhile, I don't think either side really cared because it was an exhibition game, right? But it was called the Mayor's Trophy game, and I probably went in April or March of 1976. Yeah.
That's absolutely awesome. And you would have been to a lot of different sports events in your time, probably very many baseball games. Do you have a favorite food memory or a go-to food when you're at a ballpark or a sports event?
I'm pretty simple. I think the ballpark hot dog is the best. Give me a hot pretzel too, and I'm good to go. Give me a good dog and a good pretzel, and we're good.
No, you really can't go wrong for the most part with that kind of order. With all of those events running, working with people in different markets, what's the first app you open in the morning?
I want to say maybe this isn't the right, I probably go to the weather.com first app because I got 2 kids, want to check on the weather and how they should dress. But, I normally open up, what was Twitter and X, and I'll normally go through trending to see if something catches my eye. Did I miss something overnight? So I normally find myself going there first thing in the morning.
Terrific. Is there someone that you follow? It might be someone in the media industry. It might be an author. It might be someone on X that the podcast listeners should give a follow, and why?
Selfishly, I'd like to say everybody should go to Perfect Game USA on their Twitter and Instagram accounts.
You're always allowed to do that. That's fine.
Got to promote that. But if I'm going to sports too, I love checking out John Boy Media, Front Office Sports, Foul Territory. I like to keep abreast what's going on. If I'm not on Perfect Game USA, I'm checking that out, and I'll leave all the political, sites on the side for now. That's a conversation for another day.
That's a longer podcast and probably more polarizing podcast. So thank you very much for leaving it there. And lastly, and you can answer this, and this is the setup to actually talk about Perfect Game, but that's okay. What social media platform is your MVP, and potentially, what is the one that is hitting home runs for Perfect Game?
My go-to is Instagram. I love the videos on Instagram. I think it gives you everything. I feel Instagram is skewing as a younger audience, and I think the kids playing in perfect game tournaments love the videos. We have some great content on Instagram, and Instagram, I think it's a little. And I'm not trying to comment on Twitter versus Instagram, but everybody has an opinion, right? And
Yep.
There's a lot of comments on Twitter, good and bad, right? I think Instagram tends to be a little bit more positive in terms, and it's more positive videos, and whether you want to follow sports or news or politics, I think everything's there for Instagram, and I think it is certainly trending younger, which fits exactly what Perfect Game is trying to do. So I always check out, Instagram right away too in the morning.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much for coming to the podcast. Say good day to TJ and Eric too. You now join them as podcast alumni. I think it might be one of the first companies that have 3 podcast alumni working for them. So say good day from me. What is the best way for people to reach out and say thank you for the podcast? And if they wanted to learn more, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, I mean, for them to check out the podcast, I mean, we'll have this on perfectgame.org. We'll have it on Perfect Game USA on Instagram. We'll have it on Perfect Game's Twitter account. So I'm sure our team will be cutting it up. We'll be putting it on LinkedIn as well. So, all your social media, sites will have this podcast all over the place. So I encourage everybody to check it out. It was a lot of fun today.
Thank you very much, Rob. Hopefully, when I'm in your part of the world, there's a Perfect Game event and we can reconnect at some point, but really do appreciate you coming on the podcast.
No, thank you for having me.
Looking to help your digital or sponsorship team? Book in for a Pick My Brain session with Sean Callanan to help your team level up. Book now at sportsgeekhq.com/pickmybrain.
Thanks again to Rob Ponger. Please check out Perfect Game. Go to perfectgame.org and follow Perfect Game USA across socials. I know former guests Eric and TJ, who are now working at Perfect Game, would also appreciate that. As I said to Rob, I think 3 employees, 3 Sports Geek alumni working at the same company, that will be a force to be reckoned with. Before I wrap up, have you checked out the Sports Geek throwback episodes yet? What I do is I pick out the best key insight from the vast Sports Geek podcast archive and produce a little sampler. So check out the first 3 episodes that are out now with Kath Carlson, Ben Klink, Joe Riola. They're a really good appetizer or even just a reminder of some of the key things from those interviews. And you can always go back into the back catalogue and check them out. One thing I did want to talk about was, and it's been a few discussions I've been having with a few different people this week, is the importance to connect with fans outside the stadium. So there's always been a really strong focus to connect with fans inside the stadium. The cheeks and the seats is something that I've said a lot. But there was obviously a big shift during the pandemic years where fans were locked out of stadiums. So a lot of the focus became how to engage fans outside the stadiums. But that should always be the way. 90% or even more in some cases of your fans are outside the stadium. And so we're seeing that with teams and leagues working on engaging fans internationally, like we're doing with the NFL here in Australia and New Zealand. But then even at a club level, like there's a lot of your fans that aren't going to the games. And so, yes, digital and social can assist and can do a lot of the heavy lifting, but it really should be an integrated strategy across your whole team to really make it work. You can't just say, hey, let's produce some content and give it to them and they'll be happy. It's like, what does the data piece look like? How much do we know about these people? What is their email strategy? Are we emailing them different to the people who are going to the game? What is our event strategy? There might be people that can't go to a game because of distance. They might be in another city. But how do you have events in those cities that make them feel connected to your team? And again, so that becomes part of that data piece, that CRM piece, knowing where people are. How can you engage that audience via merchandise, whether it be just having a better and different range, or these collaborations with artists, those and those kind of things. And then what does your membership or your season ticket We use the term membership far more in Australia. What does your membership look like for people who are never going to set foot in your stadium, or never set foot in your city, or never set foot in your country? What does that membership look like? Yes, digital and social and content can fill a role in that, but I think those other elements are really important. And then I think the other one that is a growing one is, where does video fit? Sort of separating that as a segment out of digital, but the subscription model and more teams looking at what does a subscription model look like to get access, or the other way, the advent of fast channels, just being able to go to a channel on your smart TV and watch content. I think they're all things that you want to be considering for your fans outside your stadium. If it's something you want to discuss further, please reach out to me, Sean, at sportsgeekhq.com. Until next episode, my name is Sean Callanan, and you've been listening to Sports Geek.
Do you get Sports Geek news? Sean Callanan analyzes the latest sports business articles for you weekly. Sign up at sportsgeekhq.com. Want to help drive more revenue from your digital efforts? Book a time for a call. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/phone call.